on Good Morning Alderaan.
Pat and Andy are starting off with last week's corrections.
How can they share them if they don't remember?
Reports of a Knights of the Old Republic reboot.
An old, yet new, delicious treat for the gaming world.
A new holiday-themed Star Wars book announcement.
It's beginning to look a lot like Life Day. Everywhere you go.
Our first 2021 Obi Watch update.
Could we be seeing old friends and foes? Exciting possibilities for Andy's birthday.
And Pat and Andy are lifting rocks while talking Star Wars sequels.
We're really a big deal in the Resistance, but our listeners always figure out the truth.
Always.
Can they cover it all? Is a retcon lurking below the island?
Get ready for Lightspeed on Good Morning Alderaan.
Hello there.
He's no good to me dead.
We're fine. We're all fine here now. How are you?
I think you'll fill in nicely.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for news, reviews, and interviews from your favorite galaxy far, far away. My name is Pat, don't call me Padawan Collins, and here is my co-host, the mayor of Alderaan himself.
Also known as Andy Hanlon.
Well, Andy, we did it again. How are you this week, pal?
You know, I'm cool.
That's what we call in the biz a callback. I'm still buzzing over that interview. That was so kick-ass. That was so much fun. I love Nick. If you've not checked out last week's podcast yet, definitely go give it a listen. Just a reminder as well, February 7th, International Star Wars Podcast Day. We've been asked to have a special bonus episode released purely for that day, and that will be our contribution, the full mostly unedited interview with Nick Maley, aka that Yoda guy. He was on the Creature Workshop team that helped create Yoda, as well as dozens of characters from the Mos Eisley Cantina. And his full backstory on Nick's start in the business, his upbringing, and the shenanigans he used to get into are all included in that. So give that a listen. The other content, the Star Wars stuff,
Very
is in there as
inspirational.
well. Oh man, yeah. Inspirational is the word for it. Honestly, you nailed it. It's it makes you feel like anything is possible. Like dreams do come true, as he said. So it was.
You know why he's cool? Because he worked hard for it.
Yeah, he did for sure. He was a thinker. Like it was the first half of that interview was like Catch Me If You Can, in like makeup and film. Setting, I guess you could say, because it was buck wild what he got away with and how he got into the industry and how he made a name for himself. But it came down to his main lesson of just don't quit, just keep going forwards. Whatever you do, your hopes and dreams and goals, move 1 centimeter every day. But I can't thank Nick enough for his time and his generosity. So please go check out his channels as well. They're in our social media links, as well as the sorry, not our social media links, in the show notes. Just look on Facebook, Nick Maley or that Yoda guy, or both, and you'll find him and support him any way that you can, because the Caribbean's hurting right now for tourism. So any little bit of recognition or patronage certainly helps him and his amazing business stay afloat during these crazy days. All right, so Andy, corrections from last week. What do we got?
Well, I was re-listening to our podcast. I listened to it when you sent it to me before we released the episode with Nick. I listened to it once briefly. I was in and out of it, but listening to it before we aired it. And then I listened to it again in full the day that we released it. And it's funny, I was driving to work, and I was listening to it in my car on the way there and the way home. And I caught a mistake that I made from last week. And I said, I should write that down when I get home. And I forgot to write it down, and now I have no idea what the error was. But I know I said something very, very minor. Very minor. In my mind, it was minor, not to minimize it. but I know I missed it. So if anyone out there is listening and catches me missaying something, I think I may have referenced like the wrong movie when I was talking about something. Please let me know. I know in episode with Nick, I caught myself when we were talking about CGI versus live action Yoda. I said that they started using a CGI Yoda in episode 1, but then I quickly corrected myself before Nick even jumped back in to say, nope, it was episode 2 and 3, because in episode 1, they did go with the puppet, which segued into Nick giving us all kinds of information about how he wrote to them and lobbied to them to not go CGI for episode 1, which I thought was just really fascinating. But what's interesting is after our review of the prequel trilogy, I watched episode 1, Phantom Menace, and in the re-release on Disney Plus, they took out the puppet in episode 1 and they replaced it with CGI.
Yes, they did that.
Because when I have the original VHS of episode 1, and then later I bought the DVD of episode 1, it was still a puppet. When I bought that in, obviously I think it was like 98 or 99, the VHS, and then in the early 2000s I rebought the DVD, which has the extended pod race on it.
Yep.
Which I don't watch that scene. I would have had the release of the shortened pod race, but yeah, they had Puppet Yoda, but this one had CGI.
I believe it was for the Blu-ray release in 2012. Yeah, I think it was like 2011 or 2012. Like, it was a long time after the DVDs were in 2004, and then the Blu-rays were released in 2011, 2012, and I think they CGI'd Yoda for that, just based on the backlash over just how not loved the repuppeted Yoda had become. But yeah, so many of those little
repuppeted
facts.
Yoda in episode 1. His eyes looked weird. It looked like he was high the entire time.
Yeah, he looked stoned to the bone, and he looked more like Yaddle.
Yeah.
Than the actual Yoda character. But it was interesting hearing those things that Nick had said, how like the original cast would not have worked because there was a junior in his workshop. Oh, I can't remember the person's name, but he figured out a way to extend the upper lip to make it look just a little bit more natural or lifelike or appealing visually somehow.
Right.
And so they didn't have that from the original cast of so that's what, like, just a lot of those little subtle differences really add up, and as you can see, it's not much of a wonder why they went back to the digitalization of Master Yoda. So but yeah, super sweet interview with that guy, so go check that out.
Yeah.
Yes, that's I didn't know if there's any corrections that I had or anything last week either, so we'll get right into the new stuff. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Woohoo. Well, it was mostly Nick talking anyways, so and I'll be damned if I'm correcting him. So it's he was yeah, what a beauty. Anyways, right into the news. So Knights of the Old Republic, the amazing, arguably some of the best Star Wars video games. I'll say that. They're different, certainly, than a lot of the other games that are out there, but as far as like the storyline of itself, it's some of the most beloved characters with Darth Revan, and I think Darth Nihilus is in there. 1 and 2 were in the early 2000s, and then of course their canon was wiped out. I believe it's still in the air as to whether or not they're actually considered canon. I don't think Darth Revan is considered canon yet at this point, but these games would ultimately make all of that canon. Now, of course, if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about right now, this took place 4,000 years before where we meet Luke Skywalker and the rest of the Star Wars universe as we know it cinematically. And so here's a little blurb. So this article announcing this, it's in, nothing is official yet. And this whole podcast, we should just say Minch over a lot of this news stuff, because it is a lot of speculation, a lot of
Yoda. Minch Yoda.
Minch Yoda. Oh, we didn't ask Nick about Minch, see if he knew his real first name. But, oh well.
It's okay.
Oh well. So this is from inverse.com. there's a new rumor suggesting that Knights of the Old Republic is coming back again as an officially sanctioned title from the new Lucasfilm Games umbrella. If it's true, it could mean many things for Knights of the Old Republic loyalists, but for the rest of us, it means that one pivotal Sith Lord could finally get fully rebooted in the canon. That's right, if KOTOR is coming back, that means Darth Revan is probably coming back too. So again, and they announce it, this is their quote, that was their quote, and this continues it, wild speculation ahead. So if you don't know who Darth Revan is, it goes on to explain, Darth Revan is a Sith Lord who lived around 4,000 years before the events of the classic Star Wars trilogy. In the non-canon KOTOR continuity, Revan began his life as a Jedi, became a Sith, and eventually tried to play the light side and the dark side against each other for his own benefit. Throughout his complicated life, he turned to the dark side twice, lost his memory at least once, and was briefly confronted by his own light side spirit. He's a fan favorite and the sole icon for why KOTOR is so popular. It was such a unique game, and I'll post a link to this article because it has like a 3-minute explainer video on the whole Knights of the Old Republic theory and game and the storyline behind it. But it's kind of like a not quite open world. It's very story driven, this game, but it's very much like a kind of like Final Fantasy, if you've played those games at all, where it's not like hack and slash combat. It's a lot of, RPG. I think it's the phrase for it. Like I said, the Final Fantasy style of video game, where you have select attacks and then you click that attack or that defense, and you get into these individual little battles, kind of thing. Did you ever play this game, Andy, or these games?
No, I never played it. I'm very interested though, and like I hope it'll come to like PS5 or Xbox or.
Fun fact: if you have an iPhone,
like...
you can get it. I think it's only like $8, $7 or $8. I have it. I bought it back in like 2000. When I first got an iPhone or iPad, I think I bought it, and I managed to salvage it and re-find it when I got my new iPhone, because I deleted it years ago, and then I was like, oh yeah, I think I still had this game, and yeah, you can actually get it on. Sorry, you can get the first one, KOTOR Knights of the Old Republic 1, on things like iPhones and I think iPads. But Knights of the Old Republic 2, I think, is only available on like if you have a Mac or a MacBook. My voice just cracked there. Then it's only available on the computer, like the computer version, the laptop version, or the iMac version. Okay. It's not available on phones.
Right.
So, but they're relatively cheap from the App Store for Apple products, and I think like if you're a PC gamer, then it'll be on Steam, I'm sure. Yeah, they are very, very fun games. They're long games, very story driven, a lot of reading, but each decision you make influences this Darth Revan character as to whether or not they're going towards the light side or they're going towards the dark side. You get like 3 or 4 different choices for answers when you are, meet somebody. You could say like, "Hey, nice to meet you. How are you today?" Or you could say, "I hear you have information. Please give it to me." Or you could have like the dark answer of like, "I'm going to cut your head off if you don't tell me what I want to hear." And each one of those decisions slightly influences your character more towards the dark. And in the second one especially, like you physically see those changes in your character, where the skin goes a lot more gray and their eyes go a lot more red, or that kind of Sith orange. So it's really, really, they're really great games. I gotta say, if you are any kind of gamer, especially Star Wars, then this is a must play for sure. But yeah, so that's
exciting. From between last week's announcement, or not announcement, I guess, but like talk about a new game, like an open concept story game coming.
I wonder if
now
these are tied together.
I'm super excited.
Yeah,
maybe. Is this going to be Lucas Games?
It is. It's Lucasfilm Games. It's all under that umbrella. I don't know who's making it. I have heard that it is not. It's not EA. And I don't think it was BioWare either. And I think BioWare was the other company that was rumored to be making another Star Wars game. So it's not them. So it's something new entirely. But yeah, it's we'll see what happens with it. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving right along.
What else we
here.
got? What else we got?
What else we got? What else is hot off the press here? Life Day Treasury. Ooh da lolly. So Life Day is the beloved, and I say that with a bit of a wink and a bit of a tongue in my cheek, beloved holiday in the Star Wars universe, all stemming from the 1979, 78, 79 Christmas holiday special. So Life Day is essentially what Christmas is in the Star Wars universe. In the original 1978 made-for-TV special that was attempted to be buried by George Lucas, allegedly, Han and Luke and Leia had to get Chewbacca back to Kashyyyk for Life Day so that he could spend it with his family. And then you got to meet Chewbacca's family. I don't remember their names. I remember one of them's name was Lumpy. And then there's Grandpappy, I think, is as well in there. But it's I just downloaded it. I'm sure you can find it online, other places too, but I do plan on rewatching it at some point because it's something else. It's fun. But anyways, there is an 8-story anthology coming up written by Cavan Scott and George Mann. And these 8 stories, again, are different little showings of different Life Day stories. I don't know too much about, there hasn't really been too much released about what those stories are about. However, some of the art includes a Jedi Knight in what looks like snow falling in Coruscant, as well as Ewoks.
Ooh, Coruscant! I love me some Coruscant.
Coruscant is in there. And there's also Ewoks in snow as well. And that's what Cavan Scott actually said. Here's a quote from him. "I think the first line in my original pitch for the book was Ewoks in snow," Scott says. Quote, "Anyone who talks to me about Star Wars knows my love of the furry little warriors, and this seemed too good an opportunity to miss. Both George and I are huge fans of winter folklore, and through stories like this, we wanted to explore the customs and beliefs that had developed on a number of worlds in the galaxy, including, of course, the forest moon of Endor." End quote for that.
Ooh.
But very excited for that. It is available for pre-order now. Again, I'll post this link as well as all of our news links in our show notes so you can do some reading yourself. And this book, Life Day Treasury, Holiday Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away, arrives September 7th and is available for pre-order now. We are not affiliated in any way either, unfortunately. But I know I will be putting in a pre-order for that, I'm sure. Yay.
And I think that's all the news updates that we have.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Obi-Watch.
Obi-Watch. Okay, so not too much for Obi-Watch, although I'm very, very excited. There is some stuff that, I would say I found because it was my task, but I would be lying if I said it was me. So Pat was able to find some stuff on Obi-Watch that I can share. Not like a lot of substantial stuff, obviously, but just a lot of stuff out there talking about who we might see in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So we know Hayden Christensen is confirmed, and we're very excited about that. I am actually very excited for Hayden Christensen, which some people may not be, but I think Hayden Christensen did as good a job as he could do in the prequels. So I'm very excited for that lightsaber duel. One thing we know is his physical acting, his commitment. He and Ewan McGregor's commitment to training to duel and be a part of that is honorable, and they will do a fantastic job, so I hope we see that. But in terms of some other characters, there's lots of stuff being put out there that we'll see Ahsoka, so hopefully Rosario Dawson. Will we see Darth Maul? Because if you watch the Rebels series, we obviously see Min Chioda. Will we obviously see some resolution to that from episode 1? So Ahsoka, Darth Maul, There's rumors about Tamara Morrison, who will be starring in the Boba Fett series. Potential that we may see him reprise his role as a stormtrooper, perhaps Commander Cody.
Ooh, that would be good.
Who
I was
Obi-Wan
thinking,
was very close to in the Clone Wars. That would be very interesting.
I know he's apparently signed on for Ahsoka in numerous roles, but you just know one of those is going to be Captain Rex with him with the big white beard and all of that. And that's what I was thinking. But I'd never considered Commander Cody.
But Commander Cody was
the guy who ordered him to get shot down.
But they were friends, sort of. That we assume when we see it in the Clone Wars or Revenge of the Sith for sure. so yeah, we have that. Obviously, we're hoping for some Qui-Gon Jinn. We're hoping for some Yoda. In terms of like some Force, well, Qui-Gon would be a Force ghost. Yoda, we're hoping for maybe some sort of interaction with, even though at the timeline they would both be alive. So that would be really cool. And yeah, they're just talking about a few cameos. I mean, it's not in what I've read, but how cool would it be to see Samuel L. Jackson somehow make an appearance in Obi-Wan Kenobi, or see some sort of teaser, even at the end, of Mace Windu being alive? If it's that amethyst lightsaber just igniting and leaves you cliffhanging for a year, I'll take it. I don't give an F.
It's
but yeah, and then there's also some stuff out there about Duchess Satine. So Duchess Satine is Obi-Wan's love interest in the animated Clone Wars series. Minch Yoda.
Spoilers ahead.
Minch Yoda. She does pass in the Clone Wars.
Obi-Wan.
But Obi-Wan probably doesn't even shed a tear because he's not supposed to be in love. But yeah, so there's rumors about maybe she could make an appearance. We can only theorize if they stick with the timeline of the animated series and they stay true to that she would have at this point already been deceased. So maybe it's a flashback scene. That doesn't quite fit for me, to be honest. I just don't. As much as I want to see old characters and nostalgia, I also want it to lead in a very quality way. I want it to lead to the final reuniting showdown of
it's a
Anakin
slippery slope,
Ben
isn't it? Like
Kenobi.
a lot of the fans out there want a lot of these old characters to come back in, but I think if they do, they are going to be very much, Luke on Octo, where they're just disgruntled, grizzled. Forget the Jedi. Jedi, never heard of it. Like, they've thrown their lightsaber over their shoulder years ago. Because, and again, this stems back to just that one line that Obi-Wan had in Empire where he's like, that boy was our last hope. And Yoda saying, no, there is another. Now, that being said, that could be left open to interpretation. But he doesn't say there is others. But that was in reference to or alluding to that was Princess Leia. But is that who he meant? He doesn't directly say. He does say in the next, Return of the Jedi, no, that is, Leia is your sister. Luke figures that out with Obi-Wan. But
yeah,
you still want it to like Obi-Wan wouldn't say like, it's okay, let him go. We got Mace, we got Ahsoka, we got Cal Kestis, we got Ezra Bridger, we got all sorts of Jedi. We got Grogu. Hey, he's a Jedi now. So it's a kind of I'm very intrigued to see where they're gonna go with it. That's basically what my mumbling and rambling is coming down to. But yes, thank you for the Obi watch. I'm very excited for that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, very exciting. I'm really hoping to spend a lot of time on it because I obviously want to save time for us to talk about this another time, and especially as we get closer and get trailers and more information. I really do hope though they go. And I'm sure people, if they've listened to the previous episodes, know that I may have a little bit of a twisted mind when it comes to Jar Jar Binks.
Finish him.
I've referenced that before. Yeah. But the thing is that I really do hope they go with a more darker tone to this. More of a serious kind of like a made for adults or watch with parental supervision type of approach, which I know isn't like Disney's thing, and I don't think it would be so dark that it's beyond like Disney's, scope. But I think they need to go a little more serious and a little dark in this movie because of the dead zone in which this timeline exists of just defeat and self-defeating prophecies and just kind of hopelessness that they're in. You even said something really interesting last week that if they brought Ahsoka in, it would be a very depressing interaction. Like, here is Obi-Wan's best friend, Ahsoka's mentor, that has essentially betrayed them, let them down. They're probably full of all kinds of trauma, all kinds of grief. And I just feel like the series needs to reflect. Even when they have the final duel, I feel like they could really play up the emotional piece. Like, I really hope they show some sort of confliction or conflicting emotion with Vader, Anakin, just to show his inner struggle. I really hope they reference Padme in this, to really show his inner struggle and how much he's actually suffering as a person behind the mask. So I feel like it has to be a bit darker. At least I really hope they go that road. If they go like super kid friendly, I just don't think it's gonna land the way a lot of people want it to.
Well, a lot of the audience that grew up with the Clone Wars as their main like introduction to Star Wars, say, like the sequel kind of generation, I think they're old enough now to again be able to handle that kind of darker kind of tone as you're speaking of. A lot of that kind of the PTSD of what he's gone through, having his whole world collapse around him, all of his loved ones, he's alone. Well, that being said, of course, the rumor mill is still a spinning as to whether or not Liam Neeson is going to be making an appearance. As of right now, it's still no, but these guys keep their secrets until he's spotted on set, and then they say, "Oh, we have to announce it now." And so we'll see where that takes us. But I'm with you there. I think it should be a lot darker to again lead into A New Hope, so you can understand why he's been hiding out all this time, why his sole cause is now just protecting Luke Skywalker. He's got to cast aside anything, any of that love or that misery or that sadness, that self-defeating attitude that you would think come after such a devastating series of losses, and then be able to justify that, like, his current actions of just like focus on Luke. Luke is pretty much what's going to save his life, I think, and give him that sole purpose to keep going. Like that's his reason. Like a lot of and again, you'd be better to talk about this than I would as far as your professional background, but having that one thing to help you wake up in the morning, help that one thing to keep you going. Like say, again, this is pure speculation, but say like a soldier comes back from war and they have a dog. Like that dog could essentially save their life because, and again, this is pure speculation. I don't have, fortunately, really much experience with any kind of PTSD, but from my own readings and experiences, something along those lines to be like, okay, this is what's going to keep me going. This is a good distraction from my own, distraction may not be the right word, but way to process my own life and experiences. So,
well, despite his training, despite all of that, Obi-Wan is essentially a human being who, a very force-sensitive human being.
Right.
But he is essentially, despite all his training and skills and all of that, he's essentially a human being now living alone in isolation with the weight of failure all on him. So there's all kinds of what we would call like a stuck point when it comes to trauma sitting on him. and all of the beliefs that he would have developed about control, power and control, and trust and all these things, which I actually think is a nice podcast episode down the road, is to be able, and actually my cousin gave me this idea, which I've shared with you, about using some of our background as a way to hopefully engage listeners in maybe perhaps, I mean, it's with some fun in Star Wars, but also some education around a more fun way of educating people on the effects of trauma, and perhaps even substance use. I mean, Star Wars, Luke Skywalker loves himself some blue milk. What
Blue
the
milk?
fuck
We
is
got
in blue milk? I
Death
don't know.
sticks are rampant. And spice?
Yeah,
That good spice.
right. Well, Spice Runners. Yeah, fucking Poe Dameron with his spice running.
Yeah. Get some
Spice
seasoning.
running son of a bitch.
But no, I'm all for
So-
that. Yeah. Well, yeah, and for those that don't
So
know,
we'll do that, but we'll save that for down the road.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Andy here is a mental health worker. Would you call yourself a therapist? Would that be the title? What's your official title?
I am a
you're allowed to say it.
psychotherapist.
Psychotherapist.
And I work with specifically addiction and PTSD.
Boom. So, yeah, the guy knows what he's talking about as far as trauma and PTSD, and I'm all for that idea. Kudos to your cousin there for giving you the idea for doing some evaluation on, from what we can see.
My
of
cousin has
Obi-Wan.
essentially populated many of my theories or suggestions for this show. So my repayment to him is that at some point in the future, we will have him on this show.
Absolutely.
To be able to share his gift with the world in terms of forward thinking.
Yeah. I'm all for it. Yeah, he's. I know you've shared with me a lot of the theories that he's brought about, and they're very. The guy knows his stuff for sure. So yeah, look out for him in the future here. So
He's a little biased towards Luke Skywalker and his green lightsaber, but we'll let it slide.
well, hey, who isn't? That thing is that symbolizes.
Which is a good segue. Luke and his green lightsaber, not into Mandalorian, which was an epic scene, but to the sequels.
The sequels. The sequels. That's what we're talking about here today. The sequels. So Andy and I had, I think it's probably obvious, the sequels aren't exactly our favorite trilogy out of the three. I mean, you got a choice of three. Of course, there's going to be a basement. There's going to be a bottom dweller to any of those. And the sequel trilogy just happens to be that for both of us. Now, again, we respect any and all opinions out there. That's the beauty of Star Wars, is that people from all different perspectives and are welcome to share those for sure. So we're not slamming anything. We're not hating on it. This is just our own personal feelings of the sequels, and so you don't necessarily have to turn it off now, because we're going to share some different perspectives and just kind of say some pros and cons as to what our feelings were. Not necessarily a review, but just chat about the movie. So let's start with oh, sorry, go for it.
I was just gonna say, like, we've obviously, if you've listened to us in previous episodes, especially our first podcast, we did kind of go back and forth, just kind of all over the place with some banter. And I mean, we did put some stuff out there around Rian Johnson and Last Jedi and the sequel trilogy. But yeah, like Pat said, please don't be discouraged. Like, I think it's important to kind of embrace all the views. As Emperor Palpatine would say in Revenge of the Sith, one must embrace all perspectives, not just the dogmatic native view of the Jedi. So one must embrace all its aspects, I think is exactly what he says. So, yeah, we're going to try to give a fulsome review. So I think you want to start with Force Awakens, Pat?
Yeah, so, okay, early December 2014, that first trailer drops. Over a year before we knew that we were getting this new Disney rebooted franchise. You know, we knew it was coming. Disney purchased Star Wars from old Mr. Lucas in 2012. So, and of course they said everything canon, or everything up until now, is no longer canon. We got a whole new universe coming forward for you. Disney era has begun. here we go. A couple of books released, a couple of drops here and there, a couple of Star Wars celebrations, and finally we get that trailer in December 2014. Andy, what was your first initial thought when Snoke just goes like, "There has been an awakening. Have you felt it?" And then fucking Finn just pops up.
I mean, yeah, I was like super excited. Obviously, when I saw the lightsaber ignite, the red lightsaber in the forest with the cloaked individual, when Snoke is saying that, I kind of assumed it was going to be, I mean, again, when we've talked about like old literature, I thought it might be Jason Solo. Did not know the road they were going to go down with it being Ben Solo, so I kind of figured it would be the Solo son. So that was pretty obvious, but I was super excited. And then, you know, the whole trailer leading up, and then the and the Millennium Falcon flying in the air.
Yeah, and this
like
TIE
that trailer
chasing him.
Yeah. I had all
And
the
then-
feels, Pat. All the feels.
And then a couple of months later, you get the second trailer in March or April. It was when I was in Dominican Republic for a wedding, and I remember this commercial coming up, and I ran to like a place with stronger Wi-Fi than where we were, and I watched it. And then you get Han and Chewie, with Han going, "Chewie, we're home."
yeah.
And then like,
Oh,
oh,
that was excellent. Well done.
thank you. I got
That
I
is
got
not audio inputted in the episode, folks. That is pure Pat on the mic, rocking some Kashyyyk Wookiee.
rocking the Bakashiwok, baby. That's how I landed my wife. No, it isn't. I actually kept that a secret until long after we were married. But anyways,
Still
yes,
true though. Still true.
It's still true. I still got her. But yeah, don't like. I had such high expectations. Such like even BB-8. I was like, that's a cool looking droid. It's a ball with an R2-D2 head. It's wicked. It was so unique, so fresh, so new, and you know, Rey the Scavenger was there. You could see her climbing through the Star Destroyer at that point in the wasteland of what we now know was Jakku. Like there was so much promise and potential. Fast forward to December 2015. What were your initial thoughts of Force Awakens?
So I really liked Force Awakens. I really, really liked it. I think we talked about in the first episode just obviously a lot of parallels, a lot of similarities with A New Hope. And I had said in that episode, watching Force Awakens gave me a new hope. I thought it was a very safe movie. It was a very safe movie to kind of restart this trilogy. Because although the trilogy in the late 90s, early 2000s wasn't that long ago, it was still the prequel story, right? This is like the first time since 83 that we are expecting a continuation of the original Star Wars story that we weren't even alive for, that other people were alive for. So I think there was a lot riding on it. So I think they had to go safe with Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the casting was great. I thought the acting was good. I mean, my favorite part of the movie, I thought Rey was like Daisy Ridley was great in it. But obviously, I think for me the best part of Force Awakens was Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
For me, he made that movie for me.
for sure, and I think I reflect a lot of those same sentiments as you. I wasn't quite as convinced that I liked it as much as I maybe thought I did. That's a weird way to say it, but everyone, I think I mentioned this in our first episode of the podcast as well, my initial review of Force Awakens, whenever I was asked, did you like it? What'd you think of it? It was always, ask me in 2019 what I thought of The Force Awakens. Because if it makes sense that they essentially, you know, I'll say it, they almost shot for shot remade A New Hope, as far as the storyline goes. But again, that's the safe bet. That's what started the whole franchise. That's what people loved. You know, people want familiarity when it comes to nostalgic endeavors like this. They want to feel like it's familiar. Now, I think they did that a little bit. They did it a backwards way, in my opinion, where instead of having the exact same storyline with all new characters, they should have done brand new story, but familiar characters and familiar side bits and side aliens, and those little bits of familiarity kind of hold your hand while you're walking this new story altogether. It's like, okay, it's a new story. I don't know if I like it. Oh, wait, there's an Ugnaught. I know them. And just like that kind of pampers you along into this new world that they're creating with The Mandalorian. Again, not to segue too much off of the sequels, but I think because it was just the opposite, it felt a little bit too safe, in my opinion, where it was just like, okay, I know the story. I don't necessarily watch a show for the characters. I watch it for the story, and the characters help supplement that, and they help add to it, and they add some richness and their own individual personalities kind of flare into that. So again, if you wanted to do keep it familiar, then perhaps go in the opposite way again. But hindsight is always, it's always 2020. So again, that's just my own personal take and personal opinion on it. It was good though. It was enjoyable.
Overall, I enjoyed it. I like I loved my favorite scene of the movie. So Harrison was the piece that really I thought was like the best part of it for me. But the best scene in the movie was not a Harrison scene. For me, it was the in the Maz Kanata. Is it Maz Kanata? Is that her name? Yep. Maz. Hey, Maz.
I like that Wookiee.
Solo. Yeah, I like that Wookiee. Where's my boyfriend? It's the scene in the basement of that when Rey opens up the chest with the Skywalker lightsaber in there. And then all of like the cameo voiceovers with Yoda and Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor and the Vader breathe and the scene, the hallway on the Cloud Planet from Empire Strikes Back, and just like everything that they put into that scene I thought was great. And then the flash, obviously in that scene too, we see Luke kneeling with R2 in the burning of his rebuilt temple. That was my favorite scene of it. Like I said, I thought the acting was good. I thought it was fitting that Han Solo died, not just because Harrison wanted to be dead for a long time in that series and got
Since
his way.
1980?
Yeah, or 1977. Or 75 or 76 whenever he was casted for the
George,
character.
Kill me!
Yeah. But yeah, like I thought it was, it was safe. But I think this leads us to review or talking about the other movies and then sort of circling back, which is, although it was safe as an isolated movie at the time in which I watched it, I was okay with safe. They introduced new characters. They had the old characters. It was very safe. The whole scene of the music that they used of Rey walking up the old original tempo on Octu. Octu is Skellig Michael in Ireland, which I would love to go see. If anyone's interested, but her walking up the temple steps, and then Luke waiting in the kind of the valley of the island there, and she extends the lightsaber to him that he had lost so many years ago. Like, it led perfectly into the next movie.
Yeah.
And then the next movie happened.
Which
Fun
was
fact, Last Jedi.
I'm actually wearing the vest for it right now. The company I used to work for, Adventure Canada, they did a circumnavigation of Ireland, and they actually stopped in and around the island.
Skellig Michael.
And they did a good long stop there. And so the reason why they created porgs, if you didn't know, again, little fun fact, it's not our fun fact for the end, but why they created porgs was because that the island is just covered in puffins. And it would have been far too much money to digitally remove all of those puffins. So they just decided to create this animal so that if you saw things falling in the background, you just know, oh, that's a porg. But really, there were thousands and thousands of puffins that live on the island there. So I worked the next cruise right after that where we did Scotland. So I didn't get to go see Skeleg Michael, unfortunately. But anyways, as you say, The Last Jedi, high hopes. Star Wars was coming in hot. Force Awakens was one of, if not the highest grossing movie. It was the highest grossing cinematic release of all time. So there was a lot of hype, a lot of pressure on Rian Johnson and his team to deliver. As you say, continue on from when Rey extends that lightsaber. Oh, there it is. Shots fired. Already, here we go.
So the thing is, I didn't I think I said this in an episode previously, but I walk out of every Star Wars movie just fucking giddy. I get so excited. And then I keep watching them. In this case, I think I saw The Last Jedi like 4 times in theater, kept going and going and going, and each time I kept watching it, I kept disliking it more. They just missed the mark so much on Luke Skywalker. That whole cliffhanger from 2015 of Rey extending the lightsaber, and for him to pick it up and just throw it over his shoulder, I just thought was really poorly done.
Yeah, it was
and
it was
obviously
like a tacky joke.
JJ tried to correct it with some humor in Rise of Skywalker, when Luke catches it and says, "Treat it with more dignity, a Jedi's weapon," right? But like, I just thought it was so missed. Not that I disliked completely the kind of old crusty, I've lost a bit of hope. I feel like they could have had elements of that, but it was too much. It just doesn't fit with the Luke arc.
Well,
character arc.
Mark Hamill famously also said during an interview to Rian Johnson, he said during this interview that he said to Rian Johnson, "I fundamentally disagree with everything you've done with this character." And like Mark Hamill said that in an interview and later backtracked and said like, "No, I trusted Rian Johnson. I trusted him completely. Don't take it out of context. I meant that, from what I've come to expect of this character, that's just not the way I saw it going," I think is what he kind of meant with that. But
Good save.
Good save, Mark. Good save. However, I think you could really see it. He let his true colors shine when he expressed how happy he was to see Luke come back in Minch in the Mandalorian Season 2 finale there. But anyways, so I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for Star Wars fans in general. And this guy here, I asked if I could use his quote. He gave me his blessing. Amir Amzar Azahar. So, Amir, thank you so much again for letting us chat about this. But I'm going to read you his quote right now, which I thought absolutely nailed my emotion as well with The Last Jedi. So, this is Amir's quote. "I want to talk about this controversial movie. I've seen it once in the theaters thinking, my God, why is this movie so horrible? Is it me? Do I grow tired of Star Wars? So today I decided to rewatch The Last Jedi again and really watch scene to scene, piecing everything from The Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, and I finally know why I hated The Last Jedi." Again, this is Amir, continuing the quote. It's because this movie subvert every progress in all the characters and plot to a point if the main character doesn't even do anything, it will have the same outcome. For example, the Canto Bight. Finn and Rose's goal was to destroy the tracker. They failed and their action has no product. Rey's goal was to recruit Luke. She failed and her action doesn't get Luke to join them. Mostly, I'd say. Sorry, that's my quote. Luke's goal was to bury the Jedi. He failed, and his action has no meaning because the Jedi lives. Poe's goal was not to abandon ship. He failed, and they still abandoned the ship and used the cruiser. All of the action that our characters did has no meaning because there is no end product. If they didn't do anything, the event will play out the same way. I tried to love The Last Jedi, really did, but I can't. From a story point, it failed miserably. I'm not toxic. I really want to love the sequel. ... I failed. End quote. Amir, thank you so much. I thought that was a great quote, and I think you nailed it. Every action is met with failure from our heroes. Now, Star Wars got its love, so much of its love, from the underdog winning, having that hope in winning. Yes, you can say that Empire, it was a failure in a lot of ways, but Luke learned from that. Like, that was a learning experience. That was him. He was warned about that. Warned about those failures that will happen. And his failure was foreshadowed. Whereas in The Last Jedi, it was just like you didn't get that satisfaction of an accomplished goal. For me, anyways. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But
Yeah. I mean, I really agree with the quote. I never thought of it that way. The only person who really kind of got what he wanted was Kylo Ren when he ignites a lightsaber and takes out clone Emperor Snoke there, or Supreme Leader Snoke.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, so very interesting. The also thing I didn't like about The Last Jedi, as much as we talk about Force Awakens being kind of like a replay of A New Hope, is the whole scene of Snoke and Rey go over here now and see your friends in trouble. Like, there's just about too much similarity there.
Yep.
There were elements of it that I liked. Like I said, I think they carried the Luke character arc way too far. We've ranted before or bantered on this. Like, they had Luke Skywalker. The only fighting he did in the entire sequel trilogy was with a fucking stick.
Yep.
He still got beat. But he's fucking Luke Skywalker. And he gets beat? Come on. You've cut yourself off from the Force. That must be it. You've cut yourself off from the Force. Like, fuck. You kidding me? It's Luke. It's Luke Skywalker. So, I really wish they would have had Luke actually, even if they went with the story of he was crusty and sort of had lost some hope, I could get my head around it if he actually physically showed up on the Salt Planet and fought his nephew.
I agree.
And even if he had sacrificed himself, like Obi-Wan sacrificed himself in A New Hope,
yep.
And it would have people have been saying, "Oh, here we go. They're
Full
just
circle.
pulling back on old material." It still would have been a more fitting end for Luke, as opposed to Force projecting himself there,
him dying alone.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there were some moments in it which were exciting. Like, I liked some of the parallels of Rey training,
yep.
Very similar to Luke training with Yoda. So there were elements of that. Part of me kind of thought what you said a few episodes ago where we talked about, I was thinking, why was Yoda being so aloof and, ignorant me? Of course he's testing Luke. Part of me thought, is Luke actually testing Rey? Is that the test? He's testing Rey in the same way that Yoda tested him. But if you watch the movie, no, he's not. He's really just angry and grumpy and isolated. And I don't actually think he's testing her. I think he comes to this realization that because she storms away, that he's failed. And it's the whole scene with Yoda in the Force Ghosts where he's going to destroy the ancient texts and burn the tree. And Yoda comes to him that he sort of says, okay, I guess I better help now. But I think he should have actually physically showed up.
I agree.
And I feel like it could have saved that movie in some ways.
Yeah. If it just didn't feel like, again, it all comes back to the familiarity, which is what Star Wars fans crave, I think. I know maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but what motivates me from movie to movie is the familiarity of the lore from the previous galaxy that I know. Even if it's like a pull from a book that I've read, I feel like I'm part of some exclusive club now to be like, I get that reference. And even if it's from, A New Hope, and it's that kind of, if you see like a Bith band character in the background, you're kind of like, oh, cool, I know them. which they did have in The Last Jedi. But, like, again, without that story, that good story to kind of help you along with it, it just fell a little bit flat. It was a risk, certainly, by Rian Johnson, but, and you know, like, not slamming him, he's an incredible filmmaker. Some of his movies are absolutely awesome. Knives Out, I thought that was an amazing movie. But, yeah, as far as Star Wars, I don't know, man. It just doesn't seem like the kind of movie to take big risks on, per se. But at the same time, like, I don't know. It just didn't feel like Star Wars to me, which it was really disheartening for me. And I know I'm just being one of those crusty old fans now for, it's not like they used to make them kind of thing, which is what essentially a lot of people were saying about in the prequels when that came out. But I don't know. Last Jedi really, really took a toll on me as far as my own love for Star Wars. And it's like, what am I doing here? Is this really what it's coming to?
Yeah.
But anyways, moving right along. Let's keep the ball rolling. Well, unless you had anything else to add about Last Jedi.
No, I think we can go to Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
Like, we'll accept the other ones for what they are. Yep. Rise of Skywalker, I mean, I don't want to be sour on it. Like I said, I walked out. I liked it when I walked out because it was new and exciting and shiny. But it was just way too rushed. Way too rushed. Like, the whole Emperor piece, like, although they gave us him in the trailers, and it's like, wow, the Emperor's back, and I just love hearing Ian McDermott's voice.
Yeah.
It's just, like, I wasn't expecting for it to be, like, the opening. It wasn't the exact opening scene, but like it was pretty close.
Yeah, pretty near.
And he's like just kind of jumped right into it. And I don't know if you saw like the new Rockstar's Eric Voss post that I sent you. There's a YouTube video where it kind of shows like a rumored alternate plot that was originally put out there.
Colin Trevorrow. Yes,
and what I liked with the alternate plot is it made way more sense. And there was some Coruscant in there of Rey having to go to Coruscant, and then a more of extended scene of Kylo Ren on Mustafar. Which explained more of the Vader stuff.
Which would,
I mean, that's just a really quick summary of it. That's not even anything.
And Luke is haunting Kylo Ren. Luke's Force Ghost is haunting Kylo Ren that entire time.
Because he promises him he'll haunt him. That's right, because he promises he'll haunt him.
There again, that's
if you strike me down.
The failed goal of Luke Skywalker. It's like, if you strike me down, I'll always be with you. And then he never, I don't think he breathes another word to Kylo, except for when he's, I think it's just Rey that hears him at the end there when he's cheering her on. But like,
yeah, it's just Rey.
Yeah, and there's this great interaction scene between Luke, Ghost Luke, and Kylo on Mustafar, when Luke's saying, "This will ultimately be your undoing. Look where this path is leading you," and then Kylo goes, "Well, look where it led you. Look at you now," kind of thing. And like, it was just really just like good play back and forth between these characters, and again, Luke honoring his promise to always be with you. No, you're not. You're not in this new Rise of Skywalker. No, you didn't. You weren't with him, Luke. You weren't with him. Damn it. So again,
I know, and like I really wished in the lightsaber duel at the old Death Star site that they would have actually played some music. Like they tease in the trailer Duel of Fates music. The dun 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 dun. Like I feel like they should have put that in. I mean that's just a very petty like sort of little like piece that I wish they would have done. I also think, just to go broad for a second, like I think they really missed the mark, like with the lightsaber stuff. Like, was there really a lightsaber duel in this entire sequel trilogy that you can hang your hat on?
The best one was in The Last Jedi,
like,
the throne room scene. Again, did I like it?
But that wasn't a lightsaber duel.
No,
that wasn't a lightsaber duel though.
Really,
that was just them fighting the guards.
That was a lightsaber fight. It wasn't a duel.
Right. Luke should have fought Kylo at the end of Last Jedi. He should have showed up, my opinion. And I mean, the lightsaber duel in The Force Awakens, I was okay with because it shows like Rey's rawness, and Kylo still needs more training, and it's all very emotional and rough around the edges, and I was good with it. And the lightsaber duel in Rise of Skywalker on the Death Star, it was good. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I thought they did
yeah.
some pretty neat things with it, and the rain coming down and all of that. But I'm thinking we didn't really get. I would have thought at least once in the 3 movies we would have got a Duel of the Fates Episode 1 or even Revenge of the Sith type of climactic fight.
Yep. Yeah, well, each
And
one
we
of the
didn't.
prequels had, of course, an iconic lightsaber scene where, of course, Darth Maul comes out in the first one. That really set the stage.
Yep.
It wasn't. I think it could have been longer, but the Yoda lightsaber scene in Attack of the Clones, I would have liked to see more. But again, seeing Yoda whip around and then Anakin with 2 lightsabers in his hand taking on Count Dooku. And then, of course, you get a few of them in Revenge of the Sith. You get Dooku versus Obi-Wan and Anakin. And then, of course, Obi and Anakin at the end there.
Even before, you get Mace Windu fighting the Emperor.
Yep.
Like,
Mace Windu
more
and his squad.
modest and subtle, but like, you get so much. You get the Count Dooku. Yeah, you referenced that, sorry. The Count Dooku, Obi-Wan, Anakin at the beginning. Like, so much in that movie.
Yeah, but again, it just kind of... There wasn't quite... they under-delivered on a lot of their promises. Now, in the interest of just moving things along, John Boyega, he's come out saying, he didn't really have a great time with the Star Wars experience. Of course, it did, it skyrocketed his career. But at the same time, they missed the mark, I think. And I won't get too political or what have you here, but, they... a lot of the I'll say a quote from John's interview with no, it wasn't Complex Magazine, it was sorry, my computer's going slow. British GQ. So GQ Magazine is who he was interviewing with, and here's a quote from what he said. So this is just to set the scene, set the context. This is John discussing about what his time was like and what he thought of his character Finn, and how he received or what he's feeling now about his experience with Star Wars. And he says, quote, like, you guys knew it, and sorry, end quote. This is him talking about Disney in general and the writing staff and where this whole trilogy was headed. Like, you guys knew what to do with Daisy Ridley. You knew what to do with Adam Driver, Boyega explained. You knew what to do with these people, but when it came to Kelly Marie Tran, when it came to John Boyega, you knew fuck all. So what do you want me to say? What they want you to say is, I enjoyed being, and he put that in quotes, I enjoyed being part of it. It was a great experience. Nah. I'll take that deal when it's a great experience. Boyega added that all the nuance of the story was handed to Driver and Ridley, which is the fact that they're also aware. Everybody knows, he said. I'm not exposing anything. Also in the interview, Boyega reflected on the widely reported racist attacks he received from so-called fans early in the process of joining the Star Wars universe. With the benefit of hindsight, Boyega now looks back at that experience as a pivotal movement, not to mention one that he feels is still overlooked with regards to the larger conversation surrounding the franchise. Quote, I'm the only cast member who had their own unique experience of that franchise based on their race, Boyega said. Quote, let's just leave it at that. It makes you angry. It makes you angry with a process like that. It makes you much more militant. It changes you. End quote. So there's more to the article, but Boyega and Kelly Marie Tran, people of, not white people, they were so underrepresented in this. And like another quote from Boyega was, where is it? It's right up here. Sorry. And earlier in the article is he says, quote, you get yourself involved in projects and you're not necessarily going to like everything. Boyega, who last appeared as Finn in 2019 Skywalker Saga closer Rise of Skywalker, said. But what I would say to Disney is do not bring out a black character, market them to be much more important to the franchise than they are, and then have them pushed to the side. It's not good. I'll just say it straight up. End quote. And I gotta say, I fully agree with him. fully agree with him. Not just from the stance of, race, but the character itself as well. But like Disney played that race card awfully. I think that was absolutely horrible. Like, they market essentially John Boyega as a stormtrooper turned Jedi. Essentially, and someone else used this term on YouTube, calling it clickbait, where basically they're clickbaiting to say like, "Ooh, there's going to be a stormtrooper as a Jedi." It's almost like they're just trying to get those clicks, and then once the story's established, they throw that Shyamalan twist, and Daisy Ridley did a fantastic job, and this is just how the story was written. But they throw that twist in there to say like, oh, it's not John Boyega who's really good with the lightsaber. He just happened to be holding it and igniting it. Like, and then his character is essentially useless. He's relegated to, and I'll quote this from Star Wars Theory, he's relegated to Rey! That's all he does throughout the rest of the trilogy is just yell, Rey!
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if that's Rian Johnson's doing in The Last Jedi, but they totally misuse his character. I don't want to really get into too much like minority or race stuff because it's just not my, I don't want to comment on that because I think their experience is their experience.
Yep.
And it's really important to be sensitive about this stuff, and you want to see everyone equally represented, not just in Star Wars, but across the board in Hollywood in general. And I think it's really important for any minority to know that anyone from their culture can be the hero. It's not exclusive to white Caucasian males.
Essentially, yeah.
And I think it's really, really important that happens in the future and people know that. With that said, I also just think the character of Rose in Last Jedi was useless. No matter what her background, I just thought it was a useless character for the story. So they kind of set that character up and set that actress up for that, because I just thought they just did a poor job, and then they didn't even really use her in The Last Jedi, but they had to acknowledge that she was there. So I just thought that was poor taste and poor judgment just to even bring that character in, and the whole planet with the casino scene just to me had no significance,
no relevance. Yeah.
But with Finn, I thought they used Finn very well in the first movie.
Yes.
They completely misused his character. Again, even just race aside, but I think it's a very valid point, but I think they totally misused his character in the second movie, and then tried to bring him in a little bit more prominently in the third movie. And they kind of alluded that he was force sensitive many, many times in Rise of Skywalker, saying, I feel it, it's a feeling, it's the force brought us together. So I think they're alluding that he is force sensitive. I would think it would be really cool if John Boyega was ever interested, perhaps with some new directing and all of that. If there was ever some sort of spin-off series on Disney, which would actually give him his own spin-off series and maybe show his rise as a Jedi, I think that would be really cool. I remember when the character was first introduced in Force Awakens, and there was a lot of the clone. It wasn't a clones anymore. It was children raised from birth, taken from a family I'll never know, I think is what Finn says in the movie. A lot of theories. Is he Mace Windu's kid? Is he Lando's kid? Truth is, he's probably neither of their kids, but he can still be force sensitive. And I think you could actually still salvage that character by giving him his own series, turning him into a Jedi, and essentially, using him, I don't want to say using him because that's a poor word, but using that character and giving him that platform, much like, the late Chadwick Boseman to be the Black Panther, but to be able to do that for Black youth across the world. To say, yeah, a Jedi, I know Samuel L. Jackson was there, Mace Windu, and he was a badass Jedi, but he was always kind of second or third fiddle in those movies, right?
Yep.
So I think being able to really play that up and give it the attention it actually deserves would be a phenomenal thing.
Yeah, just kind of to explore that possibility of ex-Stormtrooper turned Jedi. To me, as a Star Wars fan, not knowing anything of the sequels, this is essentially what I got from that that first preview when you see John Boyega light up the lightsaber, where 30 seconds earlier he was in white stormtrooper regalia outfit. It's like, whoa, a Jedi? He was just a stormtrooper a few seconds ago. I want to see how this plays out.
Right.
And then we're just kind of played a little bit, I think. So I think like Disney missed the mark with the sequels quite a bit. Now, that being said, in the interest again of moving things right along, the rumor mill is a spinning. It's still going. We alluded to it last week, 2 weeks ago, maybe, can't remember, about this, again, the chats of the reboot coming through. Now this is from Deseret.com. Deseret News, Deseret News. And this just came through today as of time of recording here. And so the headline is, new Star Wars rumor says a sequel trilogy reboot will include unused footage of Han, Leia, and Luke. So footage that they've accumulated from The Force Awakens and splice that into a new story. Very interesting here. So here's the article. A new Star Wars.
Do you buy it? Do you buy it?
Yes, I do. Call me just again,
because I shared it with a couple of people who are saying bullshit, and I tend to agree. But I'm very excited for what you have to say, Pat. You're always very convincing. It's a skill you have.
I could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. That's from Tommy Boy, I think. But
you Jedi mind trickster, you
Jedi mind trickster, you. So, anyways, the article goes on to say, a new Star Wars rumor floating through the internet suggests that Disney is preparing to reset the sequel trilogy by using unused footage of Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Luke Skywalker. What's going on? Per the UK tabloid Express, Disney is looking to retcon the sequel trilogy so that it never happened. Now, okay, end pause. I don't like that line right there. I think it did happen. I think it happened. I think a certain series of events led to this sequel trilogy happening. Now, that episode of Rebels that we were talking about is the hinge pin. That's the point. Where if Vader had struck down Ahsoka, the sequel trilogy as we know it happens. With Ezra saving Ahsoka, pulling her through the portal and into the world between worlds, taking her out of that timeline, having her then meet up with Din Djarin and Grogu and saying, go pray on this rock and a Jedi might hear you. Without that information, they would have never met with Luke Skywalker. So, and Luke Skywalker would then have continued training Ben Solo as his first apprentice. Blah, 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 blah. Away we go. Moving right along. Quote, the retcon would happen in a 3-season show that would feature 10 episodes in each season, according to Inside the Magic, a news and rumors site for all things Disney. Each season would rework the events of the sequel trilogy films, starting with The Force Awakens, then Last Jedi, then finally The Rise of Skywalker. The reboot would include unused footage of Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Luke Skywalker, yes, we know that 3 times now, filmed during the sequel trilogy. The scene wouldn't be CGI. According to the Express report, the scene was filmed during the making of the sequel trilogy. The rumor also suggests that George Lucas would return as director for the new miniseries. There's more to it, but what are your thoughts so far, Andy?
Well, I'm fine with George Lucas coming back if someone has given him some updated dialogue lessons.
He might not be writing the script
from the prequel trilogy.
If he's directing, that's one thing.
He may need some
assistant direction, perhaps.
Some installation and some damage control there.
I can only imagine
some product control.
I can only imagine that Filoni and Favreau will be there, like holding his hand, and like George Lucas handpicked Dave Filoni.
But so when they say 3 seasons of 10 episodes, like and they're going to use unused footage, are we still going to see Rey and Poe and Finn? Like, are they going to bring them back?
I hope so.
Or are they essentially going to wipe them out?
I hope so. When I say retcon, I do not mean wipe out those characters. I think those characters have so much to add. I think, again, like seeing a stormtrooper turned fucking Jedi. I think Captain Phasma needs a better shake than what she got. It's just unfair
Brienne of
what they did
Tarth.
with so many.
Brienne of Tarth. Yeah.
Yeah, Brienne of Tarth. That's right. Like, it's so unfair what they did with so many of these characters that, yes, I think a retcon to give them a good story. Call me a crusty old.
I would be. So here's the thing. I'm okay with it. Do I believe it's going to happen? I feel like it's a leap. I feel like it's a big leap. But if it did happen, I'm okay if it happens if they bring back some of those characters. Otherwise, I feel like you can't just, even if you don't agree with the sequels, you can't just wipe them out in that way.
Yeah.
I feel like Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, I feel like they were too large a role in the sequel to just make it not happen or them not exist. So if you're going to do it, I would totally be on board if they retcon it and we have some sort of outcome that is different. It just has to include those characters.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't want to see it.
Yep. I fully agree. Like, and I think that's going to be the tricky part for the creators to appease the ones, myself included, who would love to see a retcon and who would love to see a new storyline, like as the way it should have been done. I'll drop that very bold statement down. But also appeasing those who are just like, no, shut up. It's Star Wars. It is what it is. Suck it up. It's Star Wars. Like, this is the story. Like it or not, this is what it is. Now, accept it and move on. If you're a fan of this, and a lot, that's where the big contention comes from, is if you're a fan of the series, you just accept the series. Or those to say, no, this doesn't feel like what I fell in love with. This does not feel like. So it's going to be a tightrope balancing act to appease both of those demographics. So I think you're fully right. Like, I think they will bring back.
I mean, I would love for them.
They will bring back those characters.
I think they have to bring them back. I would love for them not to bury the Skywalker lightsaber in fucking sand on Tatooine.
Yeah.
I would love the ending to not be that.
Yep.
Because when they say it's the end of, and that's the other thing, like the marketing for Rise of Skywalker, I thought was poorly done. They're calling it the end of the Skywalker saga, yet the title of the fucking movie is Rise of Skywalker. Can you think of any larger contradiction?
It's tough. It's tough.
Which, if you watch the Eric Voss New Rockstars YouTube video,
yep,
and he's quite animated and eccentric, and he's an acquired taste, but I really enjoy all of his stuff.
Yeah, it's a great video,
and I think he's bang on. He puts a lot of work into it. But like the original, if you watch that video that he posted, the title the title they had was Duel of the Fates.
Again,
instead of Rise of Skywalker, which would just been a way more kick-ass title.
Very suiting, for sure. To give some context to what Andy's talking about right now, initially J.J. Abrams was not supposed to direct the Rise of Skywalker. It was supposed to be Jurassic World director Colin Trevorrow. Now, he had a script fully written out, fully done. As this YouTuber stated, the script was submitted a week, I think maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks before Carrie Fisher's unfortunate death in 2016. And so this is what this script, the YouTuber goes on to describe what happens in the script in a 12 to 14 minute video, I think it is, but definitely worth a watch because it is a very different outcome to what we did get ultimately with the Rise of Skywalker. But again,
and I mean, it's easier to say, oh yeah, I like that better, but
yeah,
I do like it better.
And he mentions that in the video. Yeah. Like, who's to say that this video, like this movie happened, and then say a J.J. Abrams script came about called The Rise of Skywalker, And who's to say that fans wouldn't say, hey, that sounds awesome, I want to see that. So it just comes down to Star Wars fans wanting more content and everything. So anyways, the article...
I just thought it was a huge contradiction to call it The Rise of Skywalker, but then say it's the end of the Skywalker saga. I just thought,
Is it?
I don't like it.
Is it the end, really? And you're pumping all sorts of new content out? I see.
Prove it.
So anyway, the article goes on. It goes on a little bit more, but one line here, a subtitle is, "Should you believe it? Disney nor Lucasfilm have confirmed the rumor, nor have they confirmed the rumor from earlier in the summer," which is, of course, what I was alluding to before about some unrest within Disney itself, about them wanting to retcon the new trilogy. Anyways, continuing. "It's unlikely something this massive would be revealed early, though. That said, you shouldn't totally dismiss it. Experts told me back in July that sometimes studios leak information on purpose, hoping the information gets out to the public and content creators. These rumors will create a discussion about a pop culture product so that studios receive immediate feedback on the idea," as I wrote to the Deseret News. "There is no doubt that it's possible," Kendall Phillips, a pop culture professor at Syracuse University, told me back in July. "There is no doubt that, not all the time, but at least sometimes, that a studio is saying, is it worth trying to get you to know Hugh Jackman play this... Sorry. Is it worth trying to get, Hugh Jackman to play this role? We'll see what the fan reaction is." End quote there. So it could be just the studio leaking this disinformation to see what the content creators are going to talk about. What gets the most YouTube clicks? Are people favorable? Are they going to scour the comment sections and say, hey, is this a good investment? Like, these guys aren't mucking around with peanuts. I think I've said before that, yes, $200 million is a drop in the hat for a studio, but what's the return on that $200 million? Like, are they going to see a positive review for a retcon? Are they going to see a lot of people engaged in that? Or is it worth the money to do that and worth the future of the company to go that direction? Because what they've got now with the sequel trilogy, they saw a big decline in numbers to Galaxy's Edge and Disney's World. They saw a big decline in DVD sales. People just weren't really grasping the new trilogy like they were hoping the mass Star Wars fandom would. So I think, if that's what the fans want, that's what the fans are going to pay for, then let them eat cake.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, all will be revealed, right? And I personally, I missed Galaxy's Edge by like 4 or 5 months when I was last at Disney World. Yeah, I got a picture of myself out front the gates, and I could see some of the structures being built, but it was not open. I did have a very cool interaction with my daughter interacting with a stormtrooper. I will never forget it. It was awesome. She was just a little baby. Not baby. She was like, I don't know, 19 months at the time, but so she had some interaction, but not doesn't really remember. But it was awesome, and I want to go back. I want to fly the Falcon. I want to do their rides.
I want to do a live recording.
So they better turn this shit around so it exists.
I want to do a live recording from Galaxy's Edge one day. You and I, down there. Microphone's hot. Chatting away, interrupted by stormtroopers. Kylo Ren, poking us in the back with lightsabers saying, move along.
Well, as long as he's only poking me in the back.
You gotta pay extra for that. Hey!
With that said,
I think that's pretty good for today. We got a lot of content out of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Holy smokers.
Yeah, I thought that was a great episode, actually. Good follow-up to having Nick last week.
Cool.
I think that was a good follow-up episode. Lots to come in the future.
Absolutely. We're hopefully trying to line up a couple more interviews for us in the future. Stay tuned if I get any of those. And if not, then I'll just keep trying and get some other people. So either way, we're going to keep bringing you awesome Star Wars content.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, please stay tuned for all that new content coming. We got lots of good ideas, hopefully coming your way, so please stay tuned. As always, thanks again for hanging out with us. We greatly appreciate it. We're just two longtime friends, bantering back and forth, and any like, follow, share, listen, anything you can do, rating, we greatly appreciate it. So please hit that subscribe button, give us a rating. And as I said, share us with all your friends. Anyone you can think of, we definitely appreciate it.
For sure. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. We're definitely the most active on Instagram, I'd say. But Facebook, we're also available too at Good Morning Alderaan, as well as Twitter, but we're not very active on there. And if you have any questions or comments or things you'd like to discuss or things you noticed about the episode, email those to gmalderaan@gmail.com or any of those DMs of the aforementioned social media links. Andy, are you ready for that fun fact?
Yes, I am.
So this week's fun fact, submitted by a fan, actually, friend of the show, friend of the both of us, a guy I grew up with, Matt Jagir. Jiggy, thank you for this. He let me know that his mom worked for a company called Christie Digital, not too far away from both of us, in Kitchener, Ontario. And what they did at Christie Digital is that they were contracted by Lucasfilm to create all of the projectors for Attack of the Clones, because Attack of the Clones, here's the fun fact, is the first all-digital movie ever. They had to create new cameras for this release because other cameras were used to the old celluloid film, and this was all digital, and it was all being shipped and all being a lot of it was created in Kitchener, Ontario here. So here's the quote: "Lucasfilm continues to break new ground in digital filmmaking, and we're thrilled to have been part of the production of the most technologically advanced movie to date," says Craig Shoulder, Director of Business Development, Digital Media. "At Christie, we're committed to advancing digital cinema technology and providing high-performance projection solutions to the film industry from production to exhibition." So there you have it. Not too far from us, up in Canada, we made the projectors for the future. What now?
Oh, Canada, we stand.
On behalf of my co-host and I just want to say thanks for listening, and hey, always be a Jedi in the streets
And a Sith in the sheets.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.